by the side. How are you?
I'm fine, Prophet.
You are working?
No.
You are not working?
Yes, sir.
You made an application?
Yes, a lot.
For what?
I've made a lot of applications, man of God. But the recent one was for finance and administration at an associate.
I cannot hear you.
The recent one was for finance and administration at an associate. That was on Wednesday. That is the latest one I made.
Touch your heart so that, because I don't want you to have an appointment with disappointment again. It must work. Okay? Touch your heart. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ. The mighty name of Jesus Christ. So thank you. So God bless you. You come to share testimony.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus.
Good morning, church. The grace of God is sufficient for us all. My name is Ludo Masalila. I come from Marapong but stay in Mogodishane. I am here to share the testimony of Jesus Christ through the spirit of prophecy. Before I take you through my career breakthrough, allow me to take you through my academic history, which is the prerequisite to my career. Growing up, I was always told that I'm an average child. My teachers, my parents, all alike. But then God would always surprise me when it came to my examinations. He would astonish me with results that I never expected. Standard 7, I passed with an A. Form 3, I passed with an A. Form 5, I passed with 48 points. Even with such stellar results, I had one problem, and that was an identity problem. I did not know who I was. I remember from a very young age, I would ask myself, who am I? What am I to become? When other students are asked, what do you want to become? They will tell you, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a teacher, I want to be a pilot. With me, it was a different thing. It was a problem that really haunted me because I wanted to know what I was to become. So when I went to university, I really didn't know what I was going to study. Though I had passed so well, I was torn between two courses, one finance, the other one law. But I ended up doing my Bachelor of Finance, which I started in 2012 in UB. As I continued with my studies, I grew up in Francistown, but I came to Gaborone because of varsity. And being away from parents, that freedom that the man of God says can be a curse at times, I found myself in the wrong group, people who went out, who drank alcohol. I tried to fit in, people of God, because of that identity problem, not knowing who I was. I was like a feather, being blown in every direction the wind takes. But then when I felt that void, every time I tried to push myself into the world, it was as if the world was rejecting me. I then remembered the God my mother introduced me to, the God of Prophet T.B. Joshua in 2011. Because of that void that I was feeling in my heart, I started listening to the teachings of Prophet T.B. Joshua. I then prayed to God to give me a place of worship where I can listen to such words of wisdom. I ventured into a business where I met two of my sisters who told me about this ministry. I did not hesitate coming here. I then came in late 2014. The first message I heard of the man of God was of stubborn faith. The greatest thing was that even after I had left the church, the voice of the man of God was speaking in my heart. I remember that week I could not stop talking about the teaching. It was as if I heard it over and over again. It had made a great impact in my life. In 2015 February, I decided that this was gonna be my home. I had that limitation in academics where there was like a wall that I could not cross. Even though I would perform well, I was not recognized for it. I remember one Sunday, the man of God gave a general prophecy saying he sees people going for interviews. I came here in 2015, people of God, to testify on how God had broken that limitation and took me to Europe, Slovakia, to go do my attachment for a month there. When I was there, I truly saw the definition of grace. Upon coming back, I continued with my studies, and I finished in 2016, October. That is when I graduated with a merit. After finishing my studies, I honestly thought that finding a job would be easy because my results were good, and most importantly, I was in God. But little did I know that God was going to take me through a necessary process of delay. So ever since we finished school in May, but we graduated in October, I applied, people of God. I emailed, I hand-delivered, I posted. Small and great posts alike, but nothing was coming forth. I continued trusting in God. Because my parents were in Francistown, the expectation was that since I could not find a job, I should go back home. But people of God, I remained here because I needed to be closer to the counsel of the man of God. I needed to come to church Friday in and Sunday out to hear the counsel of God. I truly believe that every time the man of God sits down before God, he searches and inquires carefully about my life. He does so too about your life, people of God. So coming to church was never a burden, because in this period of delay, I could get answers from God. My prayers were being answered. When I asked God, when, my Father, will I get my job, he would tell me, wait. Just wait. And that, people of God, gave me peace because God himself told me to wait. It was then 2017, the man of God gave me a prophecy. That was in March on a Friday service. He was talking about receiving in the gospel of God's grace ministries is not a big deal, but the big deal is in maintaining. After he gave such a beautiful word, a word which is always in season, he gave me a prophecy. He asked me whether I was working. I said no. He asked me where I had applied. I told him that I applied at many organizations. He then said he does not want to see an appointment to turn into a disappointment, and that I will come and share my testimony. That prophecy indeed made me very happy. My expectations was that the job would come sooner rather than later. But I saw days turning into weeks, weeks turning into a month. I then got an invitation to an interview with a certain company. Upon arriving there, everything went well, but then everything went quiet again. Satan, just like the man of God said on Friday, he had something to say. He said, I thought your father said, no more disappointment. But when Satan speaks, people of God, God always has something to say. He reminded me the words of my father, that working or not working, God is still God, and I held on to those words. People of God, I then waited. I waited as months went on months. I remember one morning I woke up to do household chores. As I was cleaning around, I came across a business card of a CEO of a certain bank. Once I held that business card, God said to me, send this man an application. When I heard those words, I then remembered the words of my mentor when he said, those of faith, they apply even when there's no job post. I left everything that I was doing and I started typing the letter. I put all the attachments that I thought were needed, and I sent him the email. That was on a Monday, the 3rd of July, 2017. On Friday, the 7th of July, I got a call from the bank calling me for an interview for a certain project that they were doing. Even though it had nothing to do with my qualifications, I said, God, you did not put me through this delay to give me just any job. You know what you are doing. So I went for this interview and it became successful, people of God. It was a temporary job that we were hired, close to 15 of us, but different places. I was working in Gaborone. And as I continued working, people of God, this contract was from July till December. I gave it my all. I worked as if it all depended on me, and I prayed as if it all depended on God. It had nothing to do with me, but everything to do with God. As I continued, in December, the contract ended, but was extended from January to April. I continued working, people of God, giving it my all. In April, the contract ended, and many from the 15 were cut. Only 3 remained, and I was one of the 3 that remained. I continued working hard as they extended my contract again from May till December 2018. I continued working, people of God, applying, using my faith. There were internal posts that were put out. I applied to all of them, but I was called for one interview. Upon going there, people of God, it was no longer about me, no longer about my qualifications, but it was only God. I learned how to trust in God in my period of delay. I learned that God is the greatest treasure you can have in that delay. So the interview was successful. Remember that I started the temporary job in the 19th of July. I then knew, people of God, that I was hired the 19th of July for this year. Exactly a year later, God did it for me. I was now hired in a permanent and pensionable post. Allow me to take you to the board to show you that what I'm talking about is not just a cleverly devised myth. I forgot to mention that I'm the first ever in my family to ever graduate. When this moment came, I remember I was having financial issues because I was not working. My parents also having financial issues. My father went out, he sold his cows to make this day possible. This is the certificate I got when I went to do my industrial attachment in Europe, Slovakia. As you can see, recognizes Ludo Masalila for successfully completing 2015 Global Consultancy Program, Bratislava, Slovakia, which is in Europe. This is the group of people I was working with in Europe. As you can see, I was the only one. We were the only school from Africa. Here is my certificate to show that indeed I graduated. Degree of Bachelor of Finance. Here's my name, Masalila Ludo. This is the temporary employment I was talking about. It started from the 19th of July till the 31st of December. I do not have the one from December to April, but then this one is the other one from the 2nd of May to the 31st of December, which I did not complete because of this permanent job that I started on the 1st of September as a customer service consultant. I would like to give a word of encouragement. People of God, if you truly believe that you are in the right place, that you have given yourself to God, that you have given your heart to God, and that you're not religious people, as the man of God has said, then believe that all his promises, all his words, not even one of his word will fail. It may take time, but that does not mean his word has failed. Take heart and know that he shall do it for you.
Brought to you by Gospel of God's Grace Ministries. bringing hope to the hopeless. The grace of God is sufficient for you.